Today, our thoughts are with the bereaved families and the survivors who have been central to everything we have done since this attack took place. This inquiry set out to leave no stone unturned in its effort to provide answers about what happened on the night of the attack. The comprehensive report that we have received this morning records the very detailed summation of Sir John Saunders' findings and is the embodiment of the care taken by him to fulfil its purpose. We recognise that many aspects of the latest published volume will make for difficult and distressing reading for those most affected. On behalf of Greater Manchester Police, I thank the inquiry team for the opportunities that we have been given to participate fully and fairly in the inquiry process, and we welcome today's report. I fully accept the findings of the Chair, Sir John Saunders. Beyond the selflessness and professionalism of so many of our frontline staff, it is also clear that our coordination of the response to this atrocity was poor. We had failed to plan effectively, and the execution of that which was planned was simply not good enough. Our actions were substantially inadequate and fell short of what the public have every right to expect. And for this, I apologise unreservedly. Our failure to effect proper command and control of the incident from the outset undermined an effective multi-agency response to a dreadful set of circumstances. We did not act upon learning from previous exercises which could have reduced the burden or impact felt on the force duty officer. Poor communications, poor planning, inadequate training, and shortcomings in strategic leadership all played a part in our failure. All of these failings could and should have been identified and mitigated through learning from robustly designed training exercises under the auspices of our local resilience forum. Alas, these were opportunities that were not sufficiently taken. Sadly, GMP's combined failings were significant. To the families and loved ones of those who died, I am truly sorry. It is important that we now take the time to carefully consider every facet of the volume published today, and we have a dedicated team already in place for this purpose. But I also want to reassure the public that we have not waited for the publication of today's findings before making a number of substantial and beneficial changes to our operating model. In recent years, GMP has strengthened its leadership at all levels and has placed a premium on core operational competence and effectiveness. We have developed a detailed memorandum of understanding with the British Transport Police for the Arena site, amongst others, to ensure absolute clarity between our organisations as to roles and responsibilities. We have now a rigorous process to ensure the greater testing and practical awareness of multi-agency communication methods to the point today where their use is second nature. GMP has dramatically enhanced our commitment to the Greater Manchester Local Resilience Forum, and indeed one of our senior officers currently chairs this important element of our joint preparedness. We have completed the wholesale reform of our force control room function. Significant investment has enabled single site working, additional staffing, and enhanced training. We have improved the way that we debrief critical incidents so as to better capture and share organisational learning. We've invested substantially in improved first aid training and equipment for all our frontline officers. For example, all GMP vehicles have been issued with enhanced first aid kits, which include tourniquets, and we have significantly enhanced the number of defibrillators routinely available to our staff. In short, I am already able to confidently state that GMP is now in a fundamentally stronger position than it was in 2017, should we be called upon to lead and respond to a similarly challenging and terrible event. I say this not least because GMP and our partner agencies have sadly had to apply our combined resources to a number of real-life major incident responses since 2017. In these circumstances, the fact that we have reviewed and tested our multi-agency responses have proven beneficial in delivering the professional and well-coordinated operational effect required. I am also able to provide an assurance that our learning is currently being widely shared. Whilst the inquiry has considered a dreadful event in Greater Manchester, the eyes of policing nationally are upon this report. We have already established a clear means of disseminating the learning throughout policing under the auspices of the National Police Chiefs Council and through the Counter-Terrorism Police Network. As I have already indicated, we now have more work to do and will do so in earnest. I would like to stress the point that because of the terrible events at the arena that night, we do things differently and better. On the night, many of our officers ran bravely straight into the face of danger and gave of their very best to help those injured by any means necessary, with courage, determination and compassion, and without regard to their own safety. And I am grateful to the Chair for his acknowledgement of their commitment and for the positive words written of their contribution. I am also proud of the painstaking and exemplary criminal investigation which followed the attack and led to the extradition and conviction of the bomber's brother on 22 counts of murder with a minimum term of 55 years imprisonment. The horrific nature of that which is still being endured by so many drives us to ensure that we will never repeat these failings. In this, the public can be confident of our resolve. This is the very least of what GMP can offer to those who are still suffering. A fierce determination to ensure that your loss and hurt will not be in vain. Ladies and gentlemen, I would now like to introduce to you Chief Constable Lucy Dorsey, the Chief Constable for British Transport Police, who will make a statement of her own.
Good afternoon, everyone. Here in this city, 22 people were murdered by the evil actions of terrorists, and hundreds of lives were changed forever. We will never forget them and those who must live with a pain they don't deserve to feel. Today, we heard the recommendations made by Sir John Saunders and the Manchester Inquiry team. British Transport Police accepts their findings and recommendations, and I thank them for allowing us to fully participate in the inquiry. Significant errors were made in the hours leading up to this horrendous attack and in the immediate aftermath. Our planning and preparation was inadequate to respond to an incident of this magnitude. For those errors, I want to apologise to the families of the victims and to every one of you affected by that terrible night. On behalf of everyone in British Transport Police, I am truly sorry. There were mistakes and misjudgments, but there was also compassion and bravery. Police officers and staff who ran towards the attack without hesitation, as well as security staff and members of the public. In the time that has passed, those responders have also carried the trauma of that night. They too deserve our support. This is a part of BTP's history which we will never forget. And as you would expect, today's report does not mark the start of our improvements, but it acts as an invaluable aid to build on the improvements we have already made and are continuing to make since May 2017. We are already working more closely than ever with the agencies alongside me here today, committing to programmes of joint exercising and testing so that we are better prepared. Our major incident plan has been reviewed, simplified and improved, and our officers are better trained, including those in key command roles. In BTP, one of our values is that we strive to be better every day. This means continually improving our planning and response to major incidents. The changes we have made and those that are planned mean we are in a much stronger position to respond effectively with our partners to incidents of this nature across the railways of England, Scotland and Wales. The families and friends of the victims and the City of Manchester will continue to grieve for years to come. We share this heartache, not just as an organisation, but as individuals. No learning can turn back the clock. No apology can mend a broken heart. We can only reflect on today's report with candour, and I absolutely promise you we will do better. I'm now going to pass over to David Russell, Chief Fire Officer.
Good afternoon, everyone. The Manchester Arena Inquiry Volume 2 report was made for very difficult reading for me as Chief Fire Officer of Greater Manchester Fire and Rescue Service and my colleagues. I want to start by wholeheartedly apologising to the families of the 22 innocent people who lost their lives on that tragic night of the 22nd of May 2017, and to the survivors whose lives are changed forever. Our response that night was wholly inadequate and totally ineffective, and that will forever be a matter of deep regret for our service. We let the families and the public down in their time of need, and for that I am truly sorry. I know that no apology will take away the pain and suffering of the families who lost loved ones and of the survivors, but I want them to know that I fully accept the inquiry's criticisms of our service, and I accept the recommendations in full. I also want to thank Sir John Saunders for his work throughout the inquiry and in producing this report. The inquiry's process has been one of the most challenging times in our service's history, and today is a very difficult day for many, especially those who so desperately wanted to help that night. Every firefighter who joins Greater Manchester Fire and Rescue Service wants to do their best, the best job they can to help, to support, to assist the public and to save lives. Those that were eventually deployed to the incident that night did the best job they could, albeit it was far too late. While we have already made significant changes to address the failings in how we responded on the night, the inquiry's recommendations provide a critically important framework for ensuring we take all the necessary steps to always be ready and able to respond to a terrorist attack anywhere in our city region. The report is long and complex. It will take time to digest the recommendations fully and cross-reference them against improvements which we have already put in place and to consider whether any gaps remain. I do, however, want to address a few issues the report raises. As I've said, and the inquiry notes, we were simply too late in our response. But 5 years on from the attack, I want the public to know that this will never happen again. Today's Greater Manchester Fire and Rescue Service is better prepared, better equipped, better trained, better exercised and more resilient. The Kerslake Review, set up by the Mayor of Greater Manchester after the attack, identified a number of recommendations which we have already put in place to improve and drive meaningful change within our service. And these changes have been tested during the multi-agency response to many major incidents in recent years. We knew immediately after the Arena attack that there had been a complete failure in multi-agency working. The inquiry's report makes that clear, and this has been a major focus for us since the attack. There has been a substantial shift in the leadership and culture of our service, recognised positively by His Majesty's Inspectorate of Constabulary and Fire and Rescue Services. We've undertaken a major overhaul of our policies and procedures in relation to a terrorist incident, revising and simplifying our mobilising arrangements which ensure an automatic response to the scene. A dedicated radio channel is now established which guarantees immediate contact 24/7 between blue light services and our control rooms. In addition to this, a national interagency liaison officer is now co-located with GMP's Force Duty Officer during working hours with a dedicated emergency phone line for all other times. There's greater investment in training, multi-agency exercising and increased emphasis on decision-making autonomy, meaning incident commanders can confidently make decisions with discretion. Wholesale changes have been made to organisational learning and our debrief processes, as well as major improvements in how we communicate and work together with our partner agencies during and after incidents, in conjunction with North West Fire Control and, importantly, across the wider Greater Manchester Resilience Forum. We have also established a more resilient marauding terrorist attack capability for Greater Manchester by increasing our capacity and capability, which sees every firefighter being fully trained and every fire appliance better equipped to respond to all forms of terrorist or mass casualty incident. I know the spotlight today is rightly on what our service got wrong on the night of the attack, and I want to reiterate my deepest apologies to the families and survivors. I want the public to know the same mistakes would not be made today, and have confidence that never again will we fall short of what the public should rightly expect of their fire and rescue service. I hope that the public will recognise that Greater Manchester Fire and Rescue Service is a very different organisation today to what it was in 2017, and that the improvements we've made and continue to make will provide confidence that we are prepared and able to respond to support the people of Greater Manchester when its fire and rescue services are needed. Thank you. I'd now like to introduce Darren Mockery, Chief Executive of North West Ambulance Service.
Good afternoon. For everyone connected with the atrocity on the 22nd of May 2017, the last 5 years have already produced painful reminders of that night's events. And although I'm well aware this day has been a long time coming for many, I know the feeling of pain, loss, fear and anger do not go away. My thoughts and sympathies are with you all, particularly with the bereaved families and the injured. We will never forget the profound impact of the attack on you, every member of the ambulance service and the communities we serve. I hope that today's report can give some answers. However, I understand that the answers may not be what everyone was looking for. I accept the findings and I thank Sir John Saunders and his team for their diligence. All those participating in emergency response that night did so trying to do their best and save lives, and repeatedly did just that. Brave actions which helped many people, staying with them in their time of need and administering ongoing care. Not just those from the ambulance service, but of course workers from other emergency services, NHS and members of the public. To all of you, you should be incredibly proud of your efforts. Your interventions will not be forgotten by the people who received them. Tragically, as we're all aware, 22 people didn't survive that night, and many others were seriously injured. When people do lose their lives, we understand that is how our performance will ultimately be judged, and this, quite rightly, is the case today. The number of responders treating people in the city room has been a great concern to many, and is frequently mentioned in the report. We accept that more of our staff should have been deployed into the city room to help triage patients and manage their evacuation. What also produces deep regret is that our ability to work together as Blue Light partners fell well short of the standards we all expected. The principles of multi-agency working are incredibly important to the way we deal with major incidents. It should never have broken down so quickly and so drastically. We take our share of the responsibility for that. We failed to communicate situational awareness reports, we failed to share our major incident declarations, and we failed to establish adequate communication between our control rooms and each other. Also, what was laid bare during the inquiry is how we failed to learn from previous joint training exercises. To say we have now acted, I admit, seems a little too late. Nonetheless, it's important we do. Since the bombing, we have taken a series of important steps to ensure we capture learning and initiate change, improve communication between emergency control rooms and enhance our staff's awareness of multi-agency capabilities within major incidents. We have updated our major incident plans and introduced new specific policies for the arena and shared these with our operator and our Blue Light partners. What's more, to prepare our commanders more effectively, we have enhanced their training and made it more rigorous and sustained so their skills are maintained and frequently refreshed. Of course, there is much more still to digest from the report and the Chair's recommendations. I gladly take on the responsibility to make sure progress is made on them. And in my other role as the Chair of the Association of Ambulance Chief Executives, I will endorse changes required of our national partners to improve ambulance responses all over the country. I am confident that if something like this happens again, the response will have more effective preparation, management and coordination between Blue Light Partners here today. I also believe that everyone at NWAS would strive to respond with professionalism, compassion and a desire to help. On occasions like this, the word sorry has the risk of sounding hollow. Nevertheless, I want to make it clear that whilst our actions were well-intentioned, we apologise wholeheartedly for our failures. They weigh heavily on us individually and as an organisation. Lastly, I want to use this opportunity to invite the families of those who have lost loved ones, should they wish to meet with us and ask any questions they have. Thank you.